You're listening to the Speaker Talks Business Podcast, where speakers and authors and entrepreneurs learn and grow. Today, I'm absolutely blessed to have two fantastic people on with me today, and they are Dwyer Hansen and Mark Victor Hansen. Now, you guys probably never heard of those people before, but they've been around a little bit, and they've kind of seen the world. And I know if you're hearing their names, you probably went, who? But Mark and Crystal, why don't you introduce yourselves, would you please?
I'm Mark Victor Hansen, best known probably for the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, the 1 Minute Millionaire series, and the Ask, the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny series, which we're going to talk about today. And then I spoke all over the planet, 80 countries, 7 million people over the last 44 years.
I talked to 77 people last month, so we're on the same level.
Right,
Yeah. And Crystal, how about you?
Hey, I'm married to the Chicken Soup for the Soul guy sitting next to him here. No, I am a transformational life coach, board certified clinical hypnotherapist. I love coaching people and helping people find the best version of themselves. I'm also an author, speaker. We travel around the world together, trying to help people motivate audiences and have a lot of fun because we love people. We love connecting to people.
That's the cool part of what we do. And one of the things I do as a speaker and as an author, and of course, as a podcast host, you get to meet wonderful people like these two right here. But what I hear from people, and that's the ones who make it onto my podcast most of the time, which is they care about people and they care to make a difference in their lives. And that's why they're on this podcast, because they're here to help you learn and grow, make opportunities. And obviously we can't have you ask questions, but boy, I hope they answer some of the questions that come up for your mind, because it's all about our personal growth. That's what Mark has been doing his whole life. And Crystal since, probably about the last 8 years since she was 12, I think. Yeah. And yeah, she's really young. So it's tough, it's tough to be that young. But Mark and I have been around a while, and that's the cool thing. And you guys mentioned something, though. Chicken Soup for the Soul obviously is big, but you got something bigger coming up, right? That book?
We do, that book, and it's called Ask, the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny. And we're just super excited about this book, Steve. We, Mark and I sat down. We have this prayer meditation hour every morning, first part of the day. And we always discuss a lot of things. And this theme started coming up for us where, we knew so many people who are super smart, talented, likable, want great things for themselves. But they're not getting what they want. And we thought, what is the difference? Because they have all these qualities, the same qualities that the super achievers have. So what's the problem here? And what it really came down to is the ability to ask, or the inability, I should say, to ask. Because super successful people are also master askers. And so we started challenging that theory and kind of looking back into our own lives, our own histories. And it completely proves out in our lives and the lives of so many others as we started doing interviews for this book. Every time Mark and I have been presented with a very serious personal challenge, we have found a way through and out of that challenge through a series of asking a lot of questions. And as those answers come, taking that next step forward. And so what we discovered is there are 3 channels through which to ask, and that is ask yourself, ask others, and ask God.
Now, so let me ask you the question then. Why don't people ask?
Well, we're all born as brilliant little askers. Children, the best askers in the world are children, right? We all know that. It's they go, why? Can I have this? Can I have that? What is this? What is that? And then honestly, in the research that we did, we found that gets shut down as we grow up. As we, first go to school and we're told, zip it up. The teacher has all the answers. Only speak when you're spoken to. Ask when you're called upon. And little by little, it starts to erode our confidence, not only our confidence, but our curiosity about life. And so we continue on with jobs and military and just authority figures. And it's eventually, and maybe some rejection, some things happened in our lives, which happens to all of us. And so we literally lose confidence in our ability to ask. And we lose our asking skills when we start to lose confidence. And that's really tragic, because asking really, when you learn to be a good asker, it really gives you a pathway forward in your life out of any situation.
Absolutely. You know, and those are the things, if you went back and looked at my Facebook page over the last, especially 5 or 6 months, you'd see that I post that all the time, which is you need to ask for help. We need to learn to ask for help. I always go back to when you said we get backed off from asking for help. You know, that's one of the challenges. I go back to a high school class and I tell this story every chance I get because I'm not a good student. I was a C student when I worked hard, and math was like, I can do, you know, counter change math, which is working retail, but to do math was tough. And I was in this one high school class, and I worked so hard the night before that I just sat in my room and cried. My mom said, "Don't worry, just go ask the teacher tomorrow." And when I got in there, the teacher didn't say who had a problem. The teacher said, "Here's was your assignment, and who has the answers?" And then he says, "Mr. Sapato, could you answer that question?" And of course, I'm like, gee, no, and I'm not going to mention his name because his daughter's probably still around, but I went, I can't. I struggled with it. And he said, "Mr. Sapato, would you come up here?" And he brought me up to the desk and he said, "Mr. Sapato, my 3-year-old daughter could figure out this question." You know, and you're mortified and you don't get the chance. And do you think I ever asked that man for another thing the whole rest of the class? Obviously not. And so even our asking is shut down. You guys said it. That was phenomenal. We're shut down. So if I were to read your book, where would it take me?
It would take you to all the questions that everybody is shut down right now. Like one of the guys, we wrote the book and we did 26 interviews with master askers. One who you may know, Jim Stovall. I don't know if you know Stovall's story, but Jim is a master. He was 19, 18 years old, ready to become an NFL player. He was recruited. He was a superstar. He was fast. He's strong. He's big. He's tough. And once he got recruited, the doctor said, "I'm sorry to tell you, kid, 6 months from now, you're going to be permanently and forevermore blind." His whole life, crushed. He's self-incarcerated in a 9x12 room. He's got 3 things. He's got a telephone, he's got television, and of course, And so he can watch TV, but he can't see anyone throw a right hook or anything. So he's so defeated. His parents say, "Look, go to the blind meeting down the street, Jimmy, and see what they say." And he gets there, and they're all just complaining about the terribleness of being blind. Sits next to a blind woman who's a court stenographer, and he starts lamenting, somebody ought to do something about that. The pivotal question that fits everybody listening is, she said, "Why can't we do something?" And that's everybody's question today. Why can't we do something? And all of a sudden, the lights went on. And that's what Crystal and I are saying. The minute the lights go on, illumination happens, revelation happens, mind looks for answers. And what they started was narrative TV. Now, those that are sighted don't know about it, but narrative TV is watched by 14 million people around the world streaming. It's one of the biggest services at $10 each. They built an empire. And that would be great. But then in our business, you remember Charlie Tremendous Jones. Charlie calls me up and said, "Hey, I know you're selling 15 million books a year, and I think you're probably busy or goofing off. I can't tell, but whichever it is, I need you to read this guy's book, Jim Stovall." I said, "I never heard of him, but I'm really busy." He said, "No, this is the best book you've ever read other than your own." I said, "Okay, because it's you, Charles. I will read it." And it's called The Ultimate Gift. I read it and I immediately wrote the foreword and I wrote the afterword and I said, "This should be a movie. It is so clearly, picturesquely so." And Jim says now, if he lives to be 100, he'll thank me every day of his life because it became a movie. He made 100 million. Now, when we wrote the book and we interviewed Jim, he said he finished by asking it. He said, "Look, I now write books I can't read, and I now make movies I can't see."
Amazing.
Isn't that great, Steve?
It is great. Isn't that amazing?
Right,
so what can the rest of us do, right?
Well, that's the point. All of us are incarcerated and self-incarcerated, governmental incarcerated. We're all in a cocoon, and we're also in the cocoon of our own mind. And in the mind imagination is the only place where there is no limitation. It's one of my great cliches. I think I made it. God, I hope nobody else made it. If somebody else did, tell me. But
we're going to attribute it to you no matter what. I mean, they probably died a long time ago, so it doesn't matter.
He's dead, not gonna, he'd come back and hammer me. But, once in a while, you just read something that's so profound, you just buy it. Anyhow, usually I like giving attribution on it. So that's what we're saying is that everybody's going to have to pivot. Everybody's going to have to reset their compass. Everybody's going to have a new mental GPS. Because when we come out of this, it's not a one-off. It's 8 billion of us simultaneously are going to start to reemerge. And our corporate symbol is a butterfly. And I say you cannot look at a cocoon and predict butterfly. Likewise, we can't predict what's about to happen, but I think we're going to go into boomingest, most loomingest, exciting times America's ever had as we get released.
So in knowing that, you know that, and I'll say half, I don't know the stats or anything, but half the population is like, locked into fear and terror. And the other half is like, let's break out. How do we get the other half to even open their minds? What should we ask them? What should we say to them so that they start to go, what do you mean?
Well, this is such a great time for all of us to reset, because if we weren't, being forced to stay home, wouldn't we love it if somebody said, go ahead and take 3 or 4 or 5 weeks and really just work on yourself. And when you come out of it, you will have taken that time. That time will be your greatest gift because you'll be able to reinvent yourself. So let's stop thinking about, the problems of 24 hours a day and think about the opportunity. And we need to have that mind shift. And like Mark was saying, we all have issues in our lives. We all have problems. We're going to have downfalls and setbacks like we are right now. Not you though, Steve, but not you. But this is for everyone else.
I'm going to call your wife.
Yeah.
No, she has the problems. I don't have the problems.
Right. It's not Steve, for sure. But that's why we wrote about this, and we call it the 7 roadblocks to asking, because we all need to learn these asking techniques. We need to learn to be better askers. But like you were saying, we've been shut down. We don't know how to do it. We're scared to do it. We talk about the 7 roadblocks to asking. And those are, unworthiness, naivete, doubt, fear, pattern paralysis, where you're just so stuck in a pattern, you just don't even recognize that it's a pattern and that you can actually break out of it. There's so many different ways. But
that's it. Then I think you touch on a lot of things there. Most of us, that fear of rejection is so powerful. I had somebody ask me one day. They said, "Steve, how do you become that speaker? How do you get out on that stage? How do you get over your stage fright?" And so I made a little video that said, "Oops, I forgot my pants." And I started out, and I almost wore my underwear, but I wore a pair of shorts instead. But it was a video from me standing back and saying, "Hey, I'm Steve Sapato, and how do you get over fear?" And I go, "What do you mean?" So I forgot my pants, right? And then I walk up to the camera so they don't have to look at me like that all the time. But it was all about, if we can get past that fear of rejection, that fear of ridicule, that fear, it makes a world of difference, doesn't it?
It does make a world of difference. And the funny thing is we're so afraid to ask. Yet all the research we've done shows that people want to help. People are 80% likely to grant your request if you ask. But we hold back, we don't ask. People like to help others if they can, And so it's important for us to look at those fears. We have some great stories and examples, and it's amazing. We love using stories, and because stories are metaphors, and metaphors are patterns, and our brains recognize the metaphor, the pattern. Our brains learn in patterns. So just by reading other people's stories and experiences, of overcoming these roadblocks, you start to learn, I relate to that. That's what I need to do. So there's some really fabulous stories in the book that will help people relate to those roadblocks and know how to overcome them, and very specific things. But it's just so important to remember that we're here to be each other's greatest resource. That's what we're here for. And we all need it. We all know we need it. So the more boldly you begin to ask, the more you start to realize it wasn't so bad. It wasn't that difficult. And then we have a section, Steve, that's called Prepare to be a good asker, because you do have to prepare. And the first thing we say is belief. You can't, you have to have this conviction, this belief that somewhere your answer is out there for you. May not be the first person, might be the 10th person, might be from some other source that you were not thinking of. But if you keep asking, you're going to get the answer. And then the second point of the second preparation point is action. You can't, if we're asking for something new, asking for something different in our lives, we need to remember to take action in every way we can. If we get an idea, act on it. If you sometimes when you we start with the first ask yourself part. When you sit down and ask yourself these things, you will start to get insights and ideas and solutions. Well, then you need to act on those. This person knows that. Who could I call who knows this thing that I want to do? Who do I know that's connected? how can I reach that person? How can I get more immersed in this thing? How can I learn more about what I want to be doing? So, and then of course,
that is a real key. That is a real key. You know, when you said we have to act on certain things, we have to take that action, because just asking doesn't get us anyplace. But if we ask and don't get the answer, remember that most people won't have the answer when we ask, especially if you're asking the people around you, right? If you're authors and you're speakers and you're very successful, you're around very successful people and they might have answers. But for most people, what is it they say? We're most like the 5 people we surround ourselves with. So your financial, your pocketbook is like theirs. Your actions are like theirs. If they drink beer, you probably drink beer. So understand that, especially if you're staying in your circle, that when you ask somebody, they're going to go, I don't know. And that's a stupid question, because why do you need to know the answer? You know, they're going to do those kind of things, not thinking they're tearing you down, but not understanding that they're not lifting you up. So ask outside the circles. When we talk about this, it's reach out to new circles, reach out to new people, new opportunities. Right, Mark?
Right, exactly. When I went bankrupt in 1974, I was trying to be Buckminster Fuller and build geodesic domes. And I built the Wall Street Record Club and all kinds of cool stuff. But I was building exactly out of the wrong product, the wrong kind of plastic, PVC. And it was really cool. But all of a sudden I crashed and burned so fast I had to check the book library, How to Go Bankrupt by Yourself. My best, worst experience. But after 6 months of hiding under the sheets and I finally, we said 3 things, but ask God. So I said, God, what's your destiny for me? God, what's your destiny for me? This is a question everyone should repeat 400 times while they're cloistered here. And all of a sudden he said, you're going to become a communicator and write books. And I'm going, are you sure you can do that message with me, Big G? I mean, it didn't sound right quite. So the next morning at breakfast, I'm living in Hicksville, Long Island, New York. I get on to my 3 roommates and we're having cereal together. And I said, any of you guys know a young speaker that's not a cotton top, meaning a white-haired person, a celebrity, a doctor, a lawyer, or somebody famous? And they said, yeah, this kid's a couple of years older than you. And he's out in Hauppauge, Long Island, New York. I raced out there, listened to him for 3 hours, at the end of which I asked him, can I take you to lunch? He said, I like a free lunch. If you're buying, I'm going. So I asked him a plethora of questions like everybody asks you. How do you speak? How do you write? How do you do this? He said, look, kid, if you'll stay out of the real estate business, I'll tell you, go to the life insurance business, it's a bottomless pit for motivation, 90% turnover a year. Here's a 4 question to ask. By the way, the chance you make it is 1 in 1,000. You ain't going to make it, but I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. Goodbye. 2 weeks later, he came back and I had a ton of talks, 28 times 4. So, Tony Robbins and I once talked and we said, hey, look, we're the only guys that did over 1,000 talks a year for the first 3 years in the business, because I didn't have a wife. They didn't go bankrupt. I wasn't on social welfare or anything. So I just knocked on doors, talked at 6 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, all the way at 8 or 9 o'clock at night. If they wanted me, and then in between I sold, and I just kept zooming through. And that's what we're going to have to do is we reset, we reinvent, we repivot. And let me just add one more thing. Out of every recession and depression comes boom times, because you have compression and you have expression. And the expression of 1898 was, we got the automobile, we got the telephone, and we got the airplane and electricity, 4 things. And then out of the last Great Depression, we got the computer, we got the jet plane, and we got television. So out of these troubled times, great stuff comes. And it's back to the question you've got to ask yourself is, how am I going to participate in this?
That is phenomenal. How am I going to participate in that? Should open up a lot of people's minds right now, because they're sitting there going, well, how would I know how I'm going to participate in it, right? They're all like questioning. They're all sitting back. Don't sit back on your laurels. Go out and see what's happening in the world. I mean, we know that driverless cars are coming, driverless trucks are coming. We know that's one of the coming technologies going to be happening. How can you insert yourself into any of that? When we talk about being a speaker or being an author, being an entrepreneur, you have to look for the openings that change who you are, what you are, and where you're going. Because as they've said right now, we're starting right here, right now, on a whole new opportunity. And if you're sitting back going, it's going to be the same old, and I'll keep doing what I've been doing, you're probably going to get left behind, right?
Exactly. Right. By the way, just the other part of the car thing, we're friends with the guy who invented all that stuff, Charlie Spinelli, the innovation center for Boeing Airlines, which happens to be here. But we're going to 3-dimensional cars, which is going to end traffic. They're all going to be electric.
You mean like three? You say 3-dimensional. You mean like air?
Like
yeah, they're going to be air taxis,
Air taxis,
Uber Air, and all that. and you're going to ride in 3 dimensions. Right now, we just do 2 dimensions, an automobile.
When I get airsick, that might not be good for me.
Well, by the way,
I'll live in the 20th century. You guys go ahead without me.
We got another neighbor that's got a way to get you out of your air sickness, which is fascinating.
That would be, you do need to introduce me to that person, because I've been begging for 20 years, because I didn't have any problems until I was 20 years old and did something at a carnival once. And then from that moment on, every time I can't turn around twice by myself. If I stood here and turned around twice, somebody'd have to grab a hold of my hand to keep me from falling over. And you're just like, how stupid is that, right? So something in my head keeps me from doing that. So if you know somebody, I'm there type thing. Wow. Now, you guys say where you live. You guys live in
Scottsdale, Arizona.
There you go. Thanks.
We do it as choral reading.
But yeah, so the interesting thing is that there are lots of opportunities for all kinds of things new, right? Especially like you say, here we're getting to the Jetsons stuff you're saying.
Totally. And it's going to be exciting, and speakers can talk about it, write about it, think about it, but also participate in it, because a lot of people are going to have to be convinced, including convince people like you that we can get rid of air sickness.
Right. And not only that, not even the high tech stuff, but you guys, as a country, this has caused us to take a look at our infrastructure, at our supply chain. And we're kind of going, who knew that 100% of our, drugs came from China? And who knew that all of our Advils made there? And I think the entire country is aligned in this reality that we need to shift those things back home. So all of these new opportunities that are going to be coming in across the board, all kinds of manufacturing, all kinds of distribution opportunities. I mean, it's important to make it your business and ask those questions. Like, how could I find out more about some of these things that are coming back to our country and some of the opportunities that are going to be ahead? How can I participate? What looks exciting and interesting to me? But you have to ask the questions and then take the action and believe that you're going to find those answers, and then take those steps and imagine how you're going to be participating in it, because that's the other part of it, of asking questions. We love to use imagination or visualization. And we say, start with your ideal scenario in mind, because your imagination doesn't stop you like your logical brain does, so literally create the ideal scenario that you want in your life. Once you can kind of get in touch with that, and then engineer that backwards and ask the questions. How did I get here? What did I do? Who did I talk to? What did that look like? Who's the person who's the expert in this?
Are you saying I can control my thoughts?
Bingo!
You can tell your thinking how to think.
100%.
And your feelings how to feel, and you can ordain your destiny, which we're saying everybody has a great destiny, and right now it's sort of constipated or shut down. But we're going into the new, and because you're dealing with speakers and writers, I feel it behooves me to do 2 things. One is if they get a copy of Ask and buy it on Amazon, and they go to reception@markvictorhansen.com and send us their receipt, we're going to invite them to be on the world's biggest book club. Exactly. I was going to say it, but you beat me to it.
I'm like your backup cheerleader.
She's my backup cheerleader, because we're doing video that's going to be so cool. Then number 2 is that we've just finished another book called You Have a Book in You. And I personally want everyone to write a book. So if they go to reception@markvictorhansen.com, we're going to send them an invite to do that. And we're going to do a seminar to back it up. And we want everybody to write their book. And then fortuitously, we've written speed write your life story or your autobiography in 22 minutes a day. In 90 minutes, you're done with it.
Yeah.
And you say, well, how important is that? Steve, wouldn't it be nice to know your great-great-great-great-grandfather, what they did, how many kids they had, what they thought their strengths and weaknesses were, which are somewhere in your and my genetics, but you don't know anything about it, do you?
You don't know my family's background.
Oh yes, he's the one, honey. We knew it.
I tell people all the time. They talk about politics and stuff, and they go, sometime you should run or something with your opinions. I go, I could never run for politics. They go, why? I said, if they did a background check on me, oh my goodness, the skeletons that would fall out of that closet. You're like, man, that'd be crazy, wouldn't it? But yeah, that's exactly what it is we can use our own minds. We use our own philosophies. We have to learn that we can change the future, our future. We can't control necessarily other people's. And that's really good. So I love that. First of all, you want me to write another book? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
By the way, I've written 308. So I think I'm here.
308?
Yeah,
308 books?
I haven't had anything to do, so I got bored, so I just wrote books.
I wrote 4 and thought it was a lot of work. I'm like,
It's
oh my God.
It's a lot of work, but I happen to love it. My mind won't stop, and people say, why don't you retire? But, you know, I wrote a book with Art Linkletter, who I hope you remember. Right? Kids say the darndest things. People are funny.
Oh yeah, that was great.
And
good
he
stuff.
made $2 billion just with hula hoop when he saw it and created it. And it's just
That's
amazing.
right.
And most people don't know that he did that. I can talk to that. But we wrote a book called How to Make the Rest of Your Life the Best of Your Life. And we're saying, look, don't retire, retire. Put new tires on and go in a better, newer direction. That's what we're saying on this podcast with Ask. We're saying, ask yourself, if there were no limitations, which there aren't except in your own imagination, which is where we started the show, what would you do? How high would you go? Where would you want to be? And you don't want to do anything. Everyone says, well, I just want to retire on a Caribbean island or a Hawaiian island or down in Cancun. Not bad, but you go down there and after 2 weeks or 2 months, you are going to be bored.
Well, ask how many of them are bored now, and they've only been sitting around for about 5 weeks, right?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, but you know, that is really critical that we find that out. Is I've been telling people I taught college for 7 years, and we talked to the students, and they were like, why would I want to retire? Why? And they go, all I want to do is retire. That's what because we'd go, well, you can do this, you can do that, and all I want to do is retire. I went, what are you going to do? And they went, well, what do you mean? I would just relax. I would do this. I go, here's what I'm going to tell you. You want to find a position for yourself in the world. Mark, you and I both are quote unquote retired because we're long since past that age. But our retirement is also our passion, our love, our excitement, our energy. When we can get out on that stage, or you sit down and write a book, when I write down, a new speech, or when I help somebody else create that new talk, those are the things that fire our jets. And those are the things that we go, man, I can't wait to do that again tomorrow. And Crystal, you probably have that same passion on, I don't know if you write the books or if you do the talking.
Oh, I do. Yeah, no, we wrote this together 100%. There's a whole bunch of my writing in this book. I mean, a lot.
By the way, I was going to come out with a book called Ask. Now I guess I'll have to put it off.
No, really? Were you? Well,
by the way, what did you
I almost
teach?
believed you for a minute, but
I told you, mine is QL method. So I've got that whole talk, and I've got it sitting off the side, which is QL method, which is the questioning and listening method, which is all about asking the right questions, listening to the answer, and not jumping to conclusions. But Mark, you were going to say something?
I just wanted to know what you were a professor of and where, just real quick.
Oh, speech communication back in Bettendorf, Iowa.
perfect. Well,
Yeah,
you're in the right business now, Steve.
that's right.
Transitioned into the perfect space. But yeah, we want to make sure that everybody becomes a good asker. And
How do they get hold of you? How do they get hold of you? How do they get hold of your book? We already know if they go to Amazon, we want them to send in that receipt, right? A copy of the receipt to reception. Is it reception?
Hansen.com. Right.
Okay, so they got to send a copy of the receipt with that?
Yes,
Please.
to get invited, so that we can invite them to the private.
And when is that already going now, or because the book's not out yet?
The book's launched on the 28th, so we'll send out the invitations after the launch. So those will be coming. So make sure you get your book now. Get it ordered on Amazon. So because we want to have a lot of people participate on this, we're going to make it a lot of fun.
So do I find it? Do I find it under Ask? Do I find it under your name? Do I find it under his name, or all three?
Both of our names.
Yep.
See, it's Ask the Bridge from Your Dreams to Your Destiny, Mark Victor Hansen, Crystal Dwyer Hansen, and
then you're going to wait. Now let's go back up because we went through that pretty quick. You're going to invite people to do what?
To come to a private book club. So we're going to encourage people to read the book, and then let's meet. We're going to do this huge meetup, a private meetup, virtual, and discuss the book and answer questions.
But you're not going to have 10,000 of us over to your house?
As a matter of fact, we do.
We can't even get together right now.
We're going to do something closer to that. We say anyone who buys over 100 copies of the book gets a private invitation to a one-day seminar. They could ask Mark and Chris anything they want, and then we are going to have dinner at our house.
Yes.
And it is amazing to us that one university has already bought books for every graduating student, and the head of the university is obviously going to come here, Dr. Jill.
Hey, that's not fair.
I know, but look, go back to your university, tell them to buy a book for every graduating student.
There you go. Just 100 books, and you get into the private party, which is going to be, it will be a live party as soon as they open up our
Well, that'll be the middle of May. I just so you know, here's my prediction: middle of May, we're off and running, and that's because I've got an event the middle of June, so it has to be done by the middle of May, or I'm going to be really upset. And Donald Trump does not want me upset.
No, do not want Steve upset. Forget about that.
Where do you live?
Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Not far from Mar-a-Lago. Not far. I can go down and give him a piece of my mind. If I give him another piece of my mind, I probably won't have any left. Is the problem? So I got to be careful now. Giving pieces away for years.
Why you cannot do that forever?
No. Okay, so they can go on Amazon.com.
Yes.
And you guys have a website though too, don't you? Can they buy it through your website?
Yeah, but I mean, we're not even distributing through the website. You can't do that anymore. But markvictorhansen.com, of course, is in. Mine is crystalvisionlife.com, and I also have a lot of audios, guided visualization audios.
Spell crystal.
CRYSTAL Vision Life. crystalvisionlife.com. So if you need some extra help and support right now with your anxiety and things like that, go to my website or go to Audible. I have a number of guided visualization CDs, guided imagery. So dealing with that kind of stuff, because I am a board certified clinical hypnotherapist. And so it's amazing how, I say either you use your mind to your benefit or your mind will use you. And and so it's so important to retrain our minds all the time, because as human beings, we have these natural fear mechanisms that are designed to protect us. And it's our primitive brain, and it serves a function. But in this day and age that we live in, where we're not being chased by rhinos or, herds of buffalo, it overreacts far more than we need it to. We're not we're not in danger of losing our lives, yet our brain is acting like we are so much of the time. And so the more time we spend in this quiet state where we're calming our minds down and sort of lowering our brainwave state, that's what this guided visualization does. So you slow that down and you become more observant of your thoughts. You can start to get control of your thoughts and observe, oh gosh, I'm going this way. So you stop identifying with your thoughts and realize, I say, you are not your thoughts. They are just things that are floating by, and you just need to observe them and then let them go. And it's so powerful in terms of getting control of how you're feeling and how you're functioning in your life. So check that out at crystalvisionlife.com as well, because it's really powerful. Also, we're on Facebook, Crystal Dwyer Hansen, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the above, YouTube.
All the good places. All of the good places. And then as soon as this quarantine is over, they're going to go out and handshake with every single one of you who drives by the Arby's next to their house. So that'll be the cool thing that they want to do.
You're not buying us at Arby's? You're not taking us to dinner?
What is that all about? I'm the poor guy sitting in Tampa just dying here, and you guys are the ones traveling the world and selling books. You notice I didn't offer a book for sale. Yeah, see?
Well, we take that. We have a course for you.
Oh, hey. First, I got to go buy the book.
You got to go buy the book.
Right. Buy the book.
All Floridians need to hear from you and learn how to stand up, speak out, and win.
Yeah, well, you know what? And that's really true, because I teach all of my speakers, when I do speaker talks coming up in June, I've got 15 people who are getting on stage to do a TEDx type talk and get their professional sizzle reel out. And then a bunch of other people in the audience. If you guys want to come June 12th and do an hour, I would love to have you guys there. Certainly would draw more people to my event. But but it's all about, I tell my speakers, they have to have a book. You have to have a book if you're going to be a speaker. And if you're an author, you have to learn how to speak. And I don't think most of us look at both sides of that. Right, Mark?
Right. Totally true. And the other thing is that Summers White told me this morning on the phone, and it was amazing. He said, look, everybody wants to dance. Everyone wants to cook well. Everyone wants to play a musical instrument. And everybody wants to write a book. It's on their bucket list. Yeah. But there's only one that leaves legacy value. And the truth of the matter is that's a book. Because what happens on your obituary is it'll say your name, your age, and then the first thing it reads, no matter who you were or where you taught or where you were a professor, it says the books that you wrote. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, well, look at somebody's obituary that written a book, and that's the first thing up before it says you were a professor.
No kidding. No, I have to pay attention. Well, I haven't been around reading obituaries much lately. I think it's too
Right.
close to home. You know, it's like.
It's good.
My wife told me. My wife's significantly younger than me. She told me. She said, "I can't die until she's ready for me to die." I said, "That's fair. That's fair. The problem is she keeps thinking it's tomorrow. That's I'm not sure."
It's a little scary.
That's at
Watch those mushrooms that she's feeding.
Mrs. Hughes's joke, right? I don't know if you know her. She says, "Until death do us part," but I didn't think it would take this long.
That's exactly true. You know, I'm right on that borderline for diabetes type stuff, and my wife keeps saying, "Don't, you got to take your pills, and you got to quit eating this stuff." And then, like today, she makes a whole batch of chocolate chip cookies.
Well,
I think there's ulterior motives there, if you ask me. Yeah.
I love chocolate chip cookies. I think they represent love. My mother made them for me a lot.
Yeah, they're great.
I
Okay, so
decided-
let's make sure I got this right then. Hold the book up for me again, if you would, Crystal.
Okay. Yep, you got it.
If you guys haven't already gotten online to buy that while we've been having such a great time, you should get on and buy this book. Okay, it's Ask. And so just look it up, find it, order it, and then if they go to your website, will they hear all the details of that reception thing? Will they be able to look it up?
Yes. Yeah. If they go to reception@marketgrants.com, we have full explanation and a video that'll be up probably soon. Is this being
They
aired
can
live,
access
or?
through our
No,
contact.
it's not being. No, it'll come up about 2 weeks from now.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
but if
It'll
you
be
don't
there.
mind putting that in there, Steve, the reception@markvictorhansen.com, that email, so they know where to go. We do love to stay in touch with people. This is fun and this is exciting. We want to raise everybody up in the
Absolutely.
process. So
We want everyone to learn to ask, because we think success comes out of your ability to learn how to ask, so you fulfill your life destiny and potential
right.
purposefulness.
I love that. That's some words to live by right there. And as we wrap up this episode of Speaker Talks podcast, I want to say thank you very much to Mark and Crystal. And do you have any last words? Each of you get to say them. So
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that we look forward to meeting everyone and hearing about your asking journey, and just to say that we're here for you. Let's stay connected.
I'd say the future is brighter than any of us can imagine, and we are going to get released. And like you said, it'll be in May. Actually, the President of the United States has said each governor gets to make a decision, and I think your governor is Rick DeSantis, right?
sure is.
Yeah, I think he's going to suggest that you guys get freed up, and then we are too in Arizona, so that'll be good.
That'll be great. Yeah, I saw where New Jersey just decided to keep theirs down until forever. I think so. That's good for all of us, though. New Jersey people should stay in New Jersey. That's what I think.
Right. Don't let them out. No.
Especially they shouldn't come to Florida. Do not come to Florida, New Jersey people.
Oh.
You just stay there in New Jersey and talk like you know what you're doing up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. See. Yeah. Stay up there. So that's what we're all about here at Speaker Talks. We're having a great time, and I hope you folks all take this journey with us. Get out, write your book, write your memories, write everything down, and learn how to share it by becoming a great speaker. I'm Steve Sapato. You can reach me at steve@stevesapato.com. You can go to stevesapatoseminars.com, or you can reach me at speakertalks.com. Hope you have a blessed day.